2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm Kevin Carr, CEO of Pro to CEO, and today on the Hit Show, I have the honor and pleasure of interviewing Dr. Brian Ligon. Who is Brian Ligon?
Brian Ligon is a St. Pete native, born and raised here. He's the son of Doctors Reggie and Mindy Ligon, brother to attorney Shannon Ligon, and big brother to my athletic trainer, Evan Ligon.
Good. Great family. I know them well. Great people. So
yes,
as a forward at Butler University, shout out to Butler, right?
Yes, sir. Go Dogs.
Did you anticipate playing basketball as a professional career growing up? Did you think you wanted to play?
I definitely had professional basketball aspirations while I was at Butler, but a couple of knee injuries slowed that track down for me.
Oh, okay. As a young athlete with a lot of potential, who you talked about knee injuries, 2 knee injuries. I mean, that's significant. Did this play a role in your decision to potentially look into other opportunities for your career?
It definitely played a role. I had the ACL tears back-to-back seasons, my freshman year and sophomore year at Butler, and that's what really caused me to consider life outside of sports and after sports, after my playing career was over. I didn't have a real grasp on what I wanted to do. I was majoring in finance and minoring in music production, and at that time I decided finance wasn't my ultimate goal as far as a career. And that's when I called home, talked to my parents about what life as being a dentist was truly about, and they kind of set me up for as some shadowing opportunities for local dentists up in the Indianapolis area, and that's really where my interest in dentistry started, although I grew up under 2 parents as dentists.
Awesome. So you graduated from Butler with a degree in recording industry studies, and you completed an internship right here in St. Pete at Big 3 Studios. What was the reasoning behind a transition from athletics to music?
Well, music has always been a passion of mine. I grew up in a house full of music lovers. My favorite band is Earth, Wind & Fire.
Okay.
But as far as music production, I started producing music on my own around the age of 14 and started selling some beats to local aspiring singers and rappers here in St. Pete at school. So that's really how my career in music production started. And at Butler, like I said, after I got injured, that's what really opened my eyes to other careers outside of business and finance. And Butler didn't have a pre-dental curriculum at the time, and I was already minoring in the recording industry studies and music production. So I ended up switching that to my major, and then also took the prerequisites for dental school and went that route.
Oh, awesome. So talk about your transition. I mean, really dig into this for us. Like, what were the struggles versus the high points of it? And what would you do anything differently if you had to go back?
I don't think I would do anything differently, because life was pretty determining as far as how I was handling certain situations that arose through the process. But as far as transitioning from student athlete to professional, that's pretty much came after my knee injuries. I was considering what I wanted to do with life. I had started shadowing a local periodontist, and it struck my interest as far as the technology involved with dentistry. And that was the main things that kind of lured me away from finance. And then also the music production. We know how stable a career in music is long-term wise. So, I had a great support system around me as far as my parents, and then, grandparents and godparents. They were always instilling me the importance of education, which was understood, and that's why I started in finance. But realizing, when I was at that point, that wasn't really what I wanted to do full time, and always having that passion of music production in my back pocket, I decided to get some formal training in the music production, but focus my career path on dentistry. And the biggest transition or difficulty in that process was really overcoming the injuries, because it was a little defeating at the time, as far as having back-to-back season-ending injuries, as far as my knees, and still having those aspirations to play professional basketball.
So you struggled with that?
It was definitely a struggle, but having the right support system, which is one of the main reasons I chose to attend Butler. It's a close-knit family in the basketball family, and then it's a smaller private school as far as academically. So once I got injured, I had the right support system around me to continue my academic pursuits and not let it waver just because I wasn't on the court playing. They definitely kept that focus on academics, being a student athlete first, and being a student first and that student athlete. And that was the biggest support that I had in that time. And as far as the biggest difficulties was really finding in yourself what you wanted to do and really pursuing those goals.
Awesome. Well, man, I enjoy this first segment. We got to take the second segment to the next level. Let's take this one out to the water, all right?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right. So, Brian, in 2015, your family experienced a major transition. The transition of Ligon & Ligon, DDS, PA, to you. Yep. You now are the owner and operator of your family's business. Talk about that, man. That must be an incredible opportunity, but also a big responsibility.
It's definitely a big responsibility. Our Ligon & Ligon was founded in 1978 by my uncle, Julius Ligon Jr., and my father, Reggie Ligon. My uncle developed MS, so he didn't practice too long, so shortly thereafter my mom ended up joining the practice, and that's been Ligon & Ligon for the past 40 years up until 2015 when I purchased the practice from my parents and encouraged them to explore the retirement phase of their careers, which wasn't taken so lightly, but they did end up selling the practice to me, which was a great thing for me as well as the family. That's the biggest transition far as becoming a business owner and assuming the responsibilities, because it's not just about practicing dentistry, it's about managing staff and keeping the employees happy and keeping your business efficient. And that's been the biggest transition for me personally in being a business owner.
Yeah, so that's great, because you really don't hear, you say family business, people think it's baked in, you don't really have to dig in deep. That's not the case at all.
Not at all, not at all. Growing up, my parents always kept dentistry as an option for me and my sisters. I purposely tried to stray from dentistry by majoring in business finance, and once I got halfway through the curriculum, that's when I realized, and then also 2 knee injuries, that business finance wasn't my ultimate goal occupation-wise. And that was the biggest benefit, I think, as far as my parents not emphasizing that dentistry had to be a career, but making sure that we knew it was an option for us.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So you still, do music, man. I mean, I know you really into it. And when you're not practicing dentistry, hence, you got an album out, Nowhere But Here.
Nowhere But Here.
That's awesome. So
that's it.
How important is it to maintain balance? I talk about that with clients, like really having that duality of something else going on in your life. So when one thing ends, it's not so cataclysmic for you to have something else to fall into. Talk about how you're extremely passionate really in both areas.
Like I was saying, music I've been involved with a long time since a child, as far as playing piano and alto saxophone and being trained in jazz music. So that's where my development came from as far as music production. I was self-taught, nowhere but here. Up here is where I grew up, and that was a passion of mine that I continued to develop all through college, and it ultimately ended up becoming my career. And as far as having that balance in life, that's so crucial, especially in a field like dentistry. It's a very tedious occupation, not just because of the procedures, because you're working in a very small space, you're working in a high anxiety environment with patients. So, most people, they don't like coming to see the dentist, and they're not shy about sharing that. So I try to make it as a comfortable experience as possible as dentistry can be. And that's where the music comes into play, because I do like working and doing procedures to music, specifically Nowhere But Here. It's instrumental jazz music. It kind of has a relaxed vibe to it, so it definitely helps the patient relax a little bit, but we also have medications that can help with that anxiety as well. So we do a lot to stay on the leading curve of technology within Ligon Dental Group, and making sure that the patient has an experience that they're willing to tell others about, and it's not all about, I hate going to see the dentist.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm glad that's a part of your practice. So, what's some of the advice you would give someone who feels that, they gotta choose one or the other? I mean, you're pretty talented here. So what's the secret to you being able to do these things?
That was one of the biggest questions I had as far as choosing a career when I was in college and making that decision to leave finance to go into healthcare, and leaving the basketball professional aspirations behind for the time being, because I wanted to give my body a chance to heal and fully recover from the knee injuries and the reconstructions, but also I wanted to have my life after basketball started at that point, and that's really why I made that decision early. Luckily, I had the right support system around me to kind of help me figure out what I wanted to do, and introducing me to the right people within certain areas of occupations that I was interested in at the time. And that's the biggest transition as far as me, and understanding the balance in life was really having the music was a long time passion, but the dentistry is the bread and butter and how I earn a living. But it's also a family legacy that I wasn't sure that I wanted to go into, but every day I love it more and more, because I see the benefit outside of the quality of life I'm allowed to live, of really benefiting and helping others. And that's the main reason that I went into dentistry.
Yeah, you really are living what you're saying. I mean, it's very apparent around you. You've worked hard, your parents have worked hard, and the success, so all that is showing. But the humility too that I feel, because I know your family and everything, that you guys truly are, role models as a family and how you do what you do. So for anyone, for a student athlete, a high achiever, business executive, etc., athlete, talk to us about, when people are looking to make a move, when they're looking to transition and they're looking to do something greater than they've ever thought they could do, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of reflecting on your story, but just advice in general?
It's really I would say the people that you have around you, as far as your network in business and the relationships that you develop along the way, because even if you start down one avenue with certain aspirations, that may lead you to other things that you may be more interested in, and can maybe focus even more on that certain aspect of that field or that industry. And that's what was so important as far as me making the transition from student athlete to professional student and ultimately to a businessman, was having the right support system, the right network around me to, one, learn the ins and outs of the business on a day-to-day basis, but also learning how to really become a successful businessman, because there are a lot of dentists out there, and then there are a lot of people who have certain business aspirations, but a big thing is they don't know where to start. And that's what that network ends up being for you, is that support system. Like with Pro to CEO and business consultings, I have a great sounding board that I'm able to use, from Kevin, yourself, as well as Shannon, my sister, who made this connection for us a few years ago. When you launched Pro to CEO, I never expected to be invited to a company who was launching their business at the New York Stock Exchange. So, and we've nurtured our relationship since that day, and it's continued to grow and flourish, and we continue to expand our network within the Tampa Bay area. And that's definitely been important to my early success in my career as a dentist and business owner here in Tampa Bay community. I had some big shoes to fill. I'm bigger than both of my parents, but had some big shoes to fill, with their legacy that they had left behind here in dentistry, and still practicing with my mother. Even though my dad passed last year, I had great mentorship from both of them. and had that guidance that really kept me focused, because there were plenty of days while I was in dental school, I was like, I can't believe I made this decision, and what the hell did I just get myself into? But, and, you know, staying that course and really, you know, having that support system around you, keeping you encouraged and motivated throughout those ups and downs of any aspirations that you have is very important, because everything that I've accomplished in my life, whether it be business or music, any accomplishment, I've had a great support system and others around me who helped me get to that point. It wasn't all just my doing. It's not something that you can just walk around claiming I'm self-made, this and that. It was, you know, it definitely required a lot of hands and assistance, just being able to have people around to ask questions, why this, why that, and what do you really like about your career? And that was really what kind of led me into dentistry and going into the family practice, although I had other options as far as careers and other practices in other states. But you can't really beat Tampa Bay as far as the climate. We're standing here in January in short sleeves, but we're not worrying about shoveling snow, which is the big problem. So, but I love living in the Tampa Bay area. St. Pete is home for me, and I'm definitely happy to be back. And, you know, making this transition into a businessman and owning my own dental practice has been a pretty smooth transition. I definitely give big gratitude to my parents and, you know, those who are involved with my education and throughout this entire process as far as getting me to here, to this point.
Awesome. So, Brian, last question. What else do you see yourself doing as far as future business ventures? I know you got a big goal out there or two that you're looking to do. So tell us what's exciting for you in the future on the horizon.
Definitely has some big plans. The major thing with dentistry is continuing to advance treatments and procedures, techniques, along with the advancement in dental technologies to provide efficient and predictable care for patients, and provide minimally invasive dentistry where it's a less traumatic experience for the patient. And you know, I also have some music goals, working with some major artists as far as doing music production, and aspirations to get into scoring some movie and film, TV and film. So that's one of my goals. Probably the biggest goal is, I don't know if you're ready for it. I know you're ready for it, but I don't know if the world's quite ready for it. But I do have an aspiration to bring professional basketball here to the Tampa Bay area, specifically championship basketball. And yes, not just to play, but we're here to win. But I think Tampa Bay would be a great region to bring the sport to. Specifically, you know, basketball, we already have a lively sports community with Rays baseball, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Rowdies. So we're continuing to grow that community, and hopefully we can garner some support for that and continue to develop that, and hopefully before we know it, we do have a team here in Tampa Bay.
All right, you heard it first. Brian Ligon continuing to evolve. Man, great future for you. I can't wait to be a part of it. Great to work with you as a client.
Thank you.
Continued success to you and your family.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. This is Kevin Carr with ProtoCEO, and I'm with Dr. Brian Ligon. We're now in the speed round. That means I'm going to ask him a series of questions within 60 seconds, or he goes into overtime. You ready, Dr. Ligon?
Ready.
All right, let's go. What's your favorite music to work to?
Nowhere but here.
All right. Who or what inspires you to get up and go every day?
Really, I just love what I do.
All right. What is your favorite book?
The Holy Bible.
Awesome. If you could meet one person, past or present, who would that be?
Quincy Jones.
Okay. What's your favorite place in St. Pete to dine?
Carr, anywhere in the world.
What do you do to relax and keep stress-free?
Hang out nowhere but here listening to music.
Okay. What do you see or would you like to solve in the world?
Cures for life-threatening diseases.
Awesome. What was the last movie you watched that inspired you?
I'm always inspired by The Godfather.
Okay. What ritual do you do daily that would surprise people?
Prayer. Hopefully they're not too surprised.
Okay. And What's your favorite memory at Butler that you can tell us about?
Sweet 16, and that's all I can say about it.
Sweet 16. All right, that's the speed round, and that's a wrap. This is Kevin Carr, CEO of Pro to CEO, and on behalf of Pro to CEO, we'd like to thank Dr. Brian Ligon for being on the HIT show today, telling your story from the Bay Area of how you've transitioned. What a wonderful way to kind of explain to the world what you're doing and how you're doing it. You've been an amazing client for Pro to CEO. We thank you for your business, and we'd love to continue to work with you.
Well, Kevin, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show and Pro to CEO for all that you have done for us, and I'm definitely looking forward to our future working together.
Now, you have the last word, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm Dr. Brian Ligon, and you just learned how I transitioned on the HIT show. That's a wrap.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.